How have you almost died? Kayak capsized out in the ocean and dumbass me didn't have a life jacket. Tide was going out. Tread water for approximately 3 hours and by some miracle a random jet skier found me. MRSA infection. Had fever and night sweats for weeks before doctors found what was wrong. Took 3 months to recover. Adding wow. MRSA seems like an extremely common illness. There ought to be more PSAs on the subject. Face with diagonal mouth. Working in steel. Cutting samples off the end of the mill line while the line was running. Standard operating procedure. Each bar coming off the line is around 240 feet long. Red hot. Makes for easier cutting with a torch cutter. And exits at several mph. The slide brake to slow down the exiting bars didn't re-engage after the bar I was about to cut stopped. I noticed it almost too late and jumped back as quickly as I could. As soon as I did, the next bar came flying down the mill line. And with no functioning slide brake, launched itself out of the line to where I was originally standing. It came so close to hitting me that it melted some of the button on my shirt. No surviving a hit like that. In college I once took a sleeping pill and started to choke on it. I then started laughing as I was choking because of the idea of my death being caused by a sleeping pill. Felt like peak irony. Riptide in Fort Lauderdale. Started swimming back in after body surfing. Started realizing I was actually further away from shore than when I started swimming in. Started doggy paddling. I was so tired and for a brief second I actually thought I was going to die. Then I remembered about swimming parallel and looking for the break in the waves. Stage 4 cancer at age 30. They had to cut a whole bunch of bits out of me and 3 months of chemo. But cancer-free 13 years and counting. Almost drowned as a toddler. When I was little, I underestimated the strength of a wave pool at a hotel. I went to the deep end where the waves are first formed and I was on a little pool donut. I was maybe 6 to 7. I remember I got turned around by accident and a wave hit me from behind and I immediately got sucked down into the water. I thought I was a good swimmer then but was so wrong. Had it not been for my dad watching me I probably would have drowned as the lifeguard didn't even notice me get swept underneath. I was in Vienna and was trying to cross a wide street. I looked left and it was clear. I looked right and there were a lot of cars so I sat with my head out looking right waiting for them to clear. I heard what sounded like a bicycle bell coming from my right but ignored it because it sounded like a bicycle bell. The bicycle bell continued to ring and get closer but I was still watching for traffic on the right. Suddenly, a large street car passed less than an inch, a few centimeters, from my face. I felt the wind of it passing slap me. I don't know why they didn't have a more aggressive sounding horn on it. But it was damn close to braining me. My brother turned to me and said, "Whoa bro, you almost just died." I was pretty shocked by how close I had come to dying so we went to a bar because I needed a drink to get over the fact that I was an inch away from death. When I was like 13. I was out at a lake park and suffered a heat stroke. I guess I didn't drink enough because I started feeling faint on the stairs of a slide. I told my dad to call an ambulance because I knew something was wrong. I began to pass out. And he immediately picked me up to run me to the front for some water. I began to suffer temporary blindness on the way. The last thing I remember was coming to once my family started giving me water and pouring it on me. Lol. When I was born I came out not breathing because I choked on my own poop. Meconium aspiration syndrome. When I was 12 I found out I'm deathly allergic to certain antibiotic families. Got prescribed them and had such a severe reaction I almost died. So grateful for my beautiful life. So, I was a kid sunbathing in my yard. My mum's room window was on the second floor right above me. My little sister was playing around in her room for some reason. I decided I was done sunbathing. The second I got up and walked away from my spot, the in-window air conditioner unit landed on the ground right where my head was. Hit as a pedestrian in a crosswalk while I was in high school and fully immobilized. Years later, while in college, got into a snowy car accident and suffered a severe brain injury. In between the two, had a toxic breakup which temporarily took away my will to live. Doing better now. Due to a broken bone. I was prescribed morphine. I took it as prescribed. And one afternoon, I took my pill and laid down to take a nap. The morphine caused me to sleep very deeply. And I aspirated in my sleep. I stopped breathing. Thankfully, my sister happened to just stop by to check on me that afternoon. She found me not breathing and unresponsive. She called 911, performed CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I woke up hours later in the ICU with some chest pain. And I was very groggy. I was very confused when I woke up. Just thought it was a dream. Thanks, sis, for saving my life. I was crushed and suffocated in a conveyor belt work accident. Some have said my heart did stop momentarily. 17 days in the hospital and 13 surgeries so far from one fateful day. Edit. Been getting asked a lot, so here's what happened. So let's preface by saying there was no lockout-tagout policy. Great paying job that I was 3 weeks into, so I didn't speak out. I wasn't vested in the union yet, so I was worried they'd can me and the union couldn't stop it. The system was supposed to be down from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. for maintenance. My job was to feed the system with demolition debris from my excavator. I was bored and had nothing else to do, so at 10 a.m. I decided to do a bit of maintenance on the bit of conveyor that I was responsible for. I was supposed to have an hour to do a 10-minute job. Well, a temp employee didn't know any better and didn't make sure everyone was in the proper position when he was given the word. He started the system up with me lying on it. I fell down to the next conveyor. And my body was caught between the two, with the conveyor I was on hitting me in the head. Yay, hard hats. I couldn't get out the way my arm was pinned behind me, so I had to snap my humerus to get out, which also tore my shoulder to shreds. Once I did get out, I started to go up the conveyor and got caught under what is called a tension bar, which is like 3 inches high above the belt. When I got sucked under that, I heard my back and ribs crack like bubble wrap. The conveyor system then shut down though. Boo it, I couldn't get out from under the bar, and every breath I took, it got tighter and tighter until I knew I was going to die. Last thing I remember thinking was, this will be a bad phone call to mum and dad, before I passed out and accepted dying. I have no idea how long I was under that bar, but I woke up to a friend, coworker slapping me in the face with my boss and another coworker over me. Maybe pure luck he was a volunteer firefighter. I looked around and said, "Okay, let's get back to work." My boss simply said, "Nah man. You're pretty fucked up." Quote, I remember flirting with one gallon in the ambulance and scoring a date with her, jokingly, for later that night. Then it was just mayhem and confusion once I got to the hospital. I don't remember much until later that night. People, speak the fuck up if something is not right at your job. It's your right to do so and don't end up like me regardless of if it's a well-paying job. I'm still dealing with the effects 7.2 years late and still having shoulder surgeries every 3 to 5 years to get rid of pain, not to mention the mental scars. Lymphoma. I just thought it was my turn to be skinny. Cutting wood and the saw blade got loose. Flew under my armpit. Incompetent surgeon perforated my colon and put my insides back together wrong. New surgeon saved me. But I was in 5.5-week coma. Nearly 2-year recovery. Permanent damage. Ongoing conditions. Glad to be alive. Angry to have chronic pain and U.S. drug laws are insane. Edit. Update. Yes. We looked at a lawsuit. You know things are real when the law firm pays their medical experts to review your records. The records did not match what my husband had been told while I was either coma. Basically. Gastric bypass full incision. 2003. When I didn't wake up. First surgeon said I was medicated. Then realized a problem. And went poking around to try to find it. My husband asked caseworker, "How do I fire this guy?" The case boiled down to they said, he said. Lawyers said yes. We had a case. But it wasn't slam dunk. We could probably win. But we could lose. And if we lost, we would lose everything, house, savings, everything. This was while I still didn't know if I could ever recover. We had a 4-year-old son and my husband's 17-year-old daughter. We ultimately decided to let the universe handle it. And concentrate our efforts on my recovery. We'd have had a better case if I'd died. I know the second surgeon had an effect on the first. Because the second was the head of surgery at the hospital. I don't know whether the first was ever fired or simply changed hospitals. Though. I am much better than we thought I would be. I can walk. Eat normally. Drive. I cried when I realized I could drive safely. I could go to the doctors by myself. I could get groceries. And putter in the garden. The new normal is reasonable. So, when I am at Walmart at Christmas, and the lines are 20 people deep and every kid is screaming and I am about to lose my mind, I tell myself, remember, this is what you prayed for. This is normal life. Suicide IED Afghanistan 2021. Allergic reaction to a peach smiling face with tear.